Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, in part 3 of our entertainment show each week, we premiere a new TV series or movie that is debuting in Ireland and the UK for this upcoming month, and especially in Ireland with Irish sort of interests. And one up for discussion this week is a blockbuster horror movie, a cult type movie that is hitting our cinema screens on March the 31st throughout Ireland. It's called Malum. In terms of its correct pronunciation. It features an all-star cast: Jessica Sula, Monroe Cline, Clarke Wolfe, Kevin Wayne, Candice Coke, Channy Monroe, and our special guest this evening, the one and only Valerie Loo. It forms about a rookie police detective officer's daughter, Captain Lauren's daughter, who takes on the last night shift at the police department, determined to find out the reasons behind her father's death in terms of a vicious cult. And Valerie, thanks for joining us this evening. And how excited are you for the premiere of Malum that is heading our way on March 31st?
Hi, thanks for having me. I am super excited. I am a horror fan myself, and I'm actually a fan of Last Shift, which is Malum is actually a reboot / reimagination of that movie that came out in 2014. So I can't wait to see, this new reimagination, and I'm super excited.
And you mentioned that as well. It's a remake of The Last Shift by Antonio Di Biase in 2014. In terms of that, we are sort of gripped by this sort of intriguing sort of story where she's trying to unravel the sort of events that happened around her father's death, and she finds that it's not straightforward as what she thought it was, that there's all different elements, and the elements that were involved in her father's death, as she comes closer and closer to discovering the truth about her father's death, they come closer, they come circling the wagons in terms of looking for her.
Yeah, no, it's a very it's almost like a thriller too, because there's a lot of suspense. And I think something that I found that really appealed to me about The Last Shift was how it almost makes you feel claustrophobic, which is, I think, someone who loves horror, that's something that really gets my heart racing when I watch. So this reimagination, Malum, is going to be bigger and better and like improving on whatever we loved about the 2014 version. And yeah, the stories basically we're going more in depth with the lore and the story for Jessica. So.
And Valerie Loo, can you tell us about your role in the movie, the role you play in Malum?
Yeah, okay. I am not too sure how much I can divulge because we want people to be have the element of surprise and shock.
Are you on the good side or the bad side?
I will say that I think I can safely say I'm on the good side. Okay. But let's just say that the good people have it going for them in this movie. I think we all know this is about a cult thing, and it's usually the bad side has a little more of a hold, but that's what makes horror so interesting. And my character definitely has something pretty gnarly in store for her.
Okay. And Valerie, in terms of the special effects that we see in terms of Malum and the sort of the gore, the horror, the sort of green screen, was that exciting to play as an actress and as the fellow cast? Did you have to sort of visualize in your head what it was like? Was there an awful lot of green screening of those sort of horror sort of scenes? And were you blown away when you saw the actual visual effects that come into place at the end?
Yeah, so the really cool thing about this movie is that there's not a lot of green screen involved. A lot of it was special effects. We had, when I watched, also the whole thing was most of the stuff was filmed on location in an actual police station that is about to close down. And so we actually got to film in an old abandoned place that actually gives you the creeps. So nothing was green screen. And I think that's really fun and important for us as actors, because then we can really feel the surroundings, and I think it's going to translate really well to the audience as well. But as I mentioned, a lot of it was special effects. Of course, there's going to be talented people working post-production to enhance it, but we didn't do a lot of green screen. And for me personally, what my character goes through involved a lot of imagination. But that's what I love about horror. I think right from my audition, I really had to kind of envision myself going through these things, because in a horror movie, whatever the characters go through, you're hoping you never go through that in real life, right? You hope you never get, chased by a cult. You hope you never get tortured and stuff. But I think that's what makes it all fun, because it's the ultimate form of acting. And I think most of my co-stars will also agree that that was what made working on this movie so fun. Getting to really push our imaginations to the limit, and also get to experience all the special effects and work with these talented special effects artists, makeup artists, prop masters, and just people who set the whole thing up. And yeah, it was super fun.
And Valerie, you mentioned that, so obviously makeup and wardrobe was there 24/7, and obviously there were some early mornings, I imagine, so if there was no green screen, in terms of the makeup and the costumes and the designs, and people started getting kitted out and all the sort of gore and horror. Was that sort of good? Was it fun to come into cast and see some of your shoots on the mornings, and see some of your cast members all decked out for the first time in the sort of the gore and the horror? Did you find it amusing before the screen started rolling?
Absolutely. I remember, so we filmed this in Kentucky. So they flew me out there, and I remember the moment I landed, the producers were kind of giving me sneak peeks of the other cast members and their like blood and gore, and it's creepy, but it's fun, because then you meet the actor outside of their makeup, and you're like, oh, that's what you look like. Because special effects and makeup just does such a good job in really making it look so real. And yeah, there's a lot of blood splatter and stuff. So we sometimes only have a few tries to get it right, because once you get all the blood everywhere, that's kind of it. It's going to take a long while to clean up and reset everything. But with that being said, I think everyone on the crew has just worked so hard on set to make sure everything's reset to normal again, and then we will redo the scene, and there's blood splatter everywhere again. So at the end of the day, it's really just very hardworking people having fun on set and creating these scenes.
And Valerie, tell us about the audition role. Obviously, judging by that, a few of the cast members were already cast in the roles before you joined. Were you one of the latest to join the set in terms of the casting? And were you recommended for the role, or was it an audition sort of process, a lengthy audition process you had to go through?
Yeah, thankfully wasn't a lengthy audition process, but it definitely was. I did send in an audition tape. It's interesting because when I auditioned for this, I was actually shooting overnight on a different horror project. So I was very in the mindset of like evil and like creepiness, horror. So that really helped. But basically, I had auditioned for two roles, actually, the role that I'm doing and another one that Monroe Cline is playing. And so I got to do 2 scenes each. That way, I guess the producers and the director, Anthony, could really see my performance. And I remember just going all out. I was like crying and screaming, and I was really worried that my neighbors were gonna complain and call the police because I knew that I really wanted the role, because as I said, I was a big fan of Last Shift, the 2014 movie, and I really wanted to work with director Anthony DeBlasi, and horror is also something that I really enjoy doing. Most of the projects that I've been in since I begun acting have been horror. So I knew that I had to go all out if I really wanted to stand out of everyone that was auditioning. So I sent in tapes that were just super extreme. I can't really go into too much without spoiling it, but at one point I'm just like convincing myself that I can't breathe anymore on tape. And luckily I pulled it off, and it was worth it, because I think 3 days after I sent in my tape, I got a email from my agent saying that the casting director wanted to set up a session with the director, Anthony, to meet with me to potentially play the role. And so I met with them. We talked about whether I enjoy doing special effects, whether I'm okay, because to do special effects, you kind of have to have a whole thing done. They map out your face and they pour like silicone on you and stuff to kind of make a model of you. So they wanted to just make sure that I'm okay with that, because it can get really claustrophobic, and sometimes people don't enjoy the whole process, but luckily I did. And 2 days later, I got the call from casting saying that I got the role.
And Valerie, did you have to do many of your own stunts in the movie? Were there an awful lot of chasing sort of scenes in terms of you're on the go, dare I say it?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because no, I didn't have a stunt double. And I think that was something that it was a very unique experience, because a lot of times I do have a stunt double on set. So I will definitely admit that this role was challenging physically. And I actually did end up I gave it my all, and I did end up with, so I had to be rigged onto a stunt harness. And we filmed my scene for about 8 hours that day. And most of the time I was rigged onto that stunt harness. So something was like under my armpits. And at the end of the day, I had noticed that I was bruising, actually physically bruising. But I hope at the end of the day, it's worth it. And the audience will actually see the amount of work that was put into it, because it was tiring and taxing. I didn't have an actual stunt double there to do it for me. And also my character at one point is hung. If you saw in the trailer, I'm being hung. And when I'm doing the hanging scenes and I'm kicking and screaming, I'm actually just kind of rotating on the string. And it's kind of nauseous. It makes you dizzy. And I think that's something that I really had to fight and work through, and, remind people that I'm actually a human being right here, like hanging there and feeling actual, I guess, feeling actual things. You know what I mean? I'm feeling pain and I'm feeling dizzy and nauseous. But I will say the producers, the stunt coordinator, the director, and our star, Jessica Sula, she really took care of me, when she would see that I am, I'm not feeling all right, she'll come over, give me a hug. And the stunt coordinator would really look out for me. Like, he'd be like, okay, if you're feeling terrible right now, we don't have to continue. I can tell the director. But I think at the end of the day, I want to really do a good job for the audiences too. I want to be able to do the best I can. So I was trying to tell myself to just push through it. And I also remind myself with horror, whatever actual discomfort I'm feeling, it's going to be good for the movie, because it's going to convey real emotions. And in that sense, there's nothing really much I can complain about, because I love what I do. Yeah.
And Valerie, from start to finish, were we talking a 6 to 8 week sort of shoot?
I believe they actually filmed the whole thing in less than a month. This production was pretty short. They actually really packed everything back to back. It wasn't a crazy long shoot, which is very unique, honestly, because my character, I was only out in Kentucky for a week. And I think Jessica Sula, who was there the longest, definitely, because she's in every scene, she's the star of the movie. She was there for a month. But with that being said, because it was such a short and tight shoot schedule, they worked around the clock, especially because some scenes when you're on location, we did also film in a farmhouse, so you had to work with the sunlight. And then there were also a lot of night scenes because it's a horror movie, so they would film overnight as well. But of course, we did everything according to, SAG regulations and stuff, but there was no break. It was back to back to back, which is why they were able to finish it within a short time.
And Valerie, for the final sort of 30 seconds, we're going to turn it over to you, Valerie Loo. You might enlighten all our audience, all our listeners, why they should go to the cinemas en masse on March the 31st in their bicycles, their cars, their tractors, their aeroplanes, whatever sort of method they can do, get to cinema, get into that sort of cinema seat. If it's a recliner sort of seat, put their feet up, have the popcorn, have the Pepsi, roll back, enjoy the movie, and what's in store for them?
Yeah, I think everyone should really head out on March 31st to watch Malum, especially if you're a horror fan. If you enjoy demonic cult type movies, this one's definitely going to be a great one for you. We put in so much work to shoot this movie, and Anthony DeBlasi, our director, and Jessica Sula, they are so talented. Welcome Villain is a great production company, and we really just jam-packed this movie with tons of jump scares, tons of gore, and yeah, you're gonna really enjoy it. So I think you guys should definitely grab your friends, grab your families, and head out to the theaters to watch this on the big screen.
On that note, from me, Jim Conlan, to you, Valerie Loo, we wish you all the best with Malum out in the cinemas on March 31st. We know it's going to be a very prosperous year for you going ahead in 2023. But if you do get some time in your schedule to do some break, do visit us, do check out the Emerald Isle here in Ireland. Do put your feet up and see some of the lovely countryside and that has to offer here in Ireland. But for the moment, from me, Jim Conlan, to you, Valerie Loo, stay safe, take care, God bless, and all the best with Malum.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me. All the best as well.